What's up YouTube? I'm Charmaine Jamil and welcome back to another video. This week's video, I really wanted to give some encouragement to anyone who was questioning their life journey or their life process when it comes to attaining your goals. And I specifically named this video, "You're Not a Late Bloomer," because I really dislike that phrase or someone telling me or anyone else, "Oh, you're just a late bloomer." And the reason I dislike it is because I feel like it insinuates just because I did not achieve something at the same time that you did at a specific time in your life, that I'm not worthy, or it devalues my life journey to what I'm supposed to have and when I'm actually supposed to have it. So that's why I put this title of the video, "You're Not a Late Bloomer," and I wanted to share these 3 tips to help remind you that you're not a late bloomer. So without further ado, let's jump into our 3 tips. Tip number 1, really leave the order of operations to the world of mathematics. Do not apply order of operations to your life. Tip number 2, we can look at the rules of track and field to help encourage us in how we can really carve out space to build our own life journey. And tip number 3, age should not be a deciding factor when you're talking about achieving your goals. Really allow it to be a benefactor. So when I was thinking about these 3 tips, I started with leaving the order of operations to the world of mathematics, because if you're like me and you're a millennial or older, or just happen to know, your teacher probably told you about that phrase, "My dear Aunt Sally." And when you were doing order of operations, you specifically had to make sure that you applied multiplication first, then division, then addition, then subtraction in order to get to the correct answer when you had a specific math problem like you're seeing on the screen. Because if you did not go in that order, you were going to arrive at a totally different answer that was not correct. So when we're thinking about that in our life, a lot of times people think you have to, be at a certain time, at a certain age. And if you're not at that certain time or achieving a certain goal at a certain age, that the opportunity has passed you by in some form or fashion. And I really want you to know that that is not true. Order of operations, everybody's order of operations for life is different. And so I really wanted to think about or share the experience. I've been in the field of education for 17 years. And the first 3 years of my career, I was a classroom teacher. And when I was a classroom teacher, I always had about no more than 20 students in my class. But when I was doing any type of teaching, whether that was reading or English language arts or even math and science, I, as a teacher, could not teach the exact same way for every student to learn. I had to do what they taught us in school, which was provide differentiated instruction. I had to provide something different to really allow those students to learn in the best way or form for them. I had some students where I had to allow them to listen to stories because they were audio learners. I had some students that really needed math manipulatives to really learn or comprehend what we were doing. And a lot of people think that our learning changes when we get to adults. When we get to adults, if you don't go in this particular order or this particular way, then as an adult, you just will not be able to achieve what you're supposed to achieve. And that's simply not true. You have those same needs as an adult of how you learn, how you achieve something, and when you get there should not be compared to your friend on the left or your friend on the right. So when we're thinking about our goals and what we want to do in life to really get perspective for ourselves, really create peace for ourselves, and really be able to prosper, we have to know that how we go through our life journey has to look different, is going to look different than the person to our left and the person to our right. And we really should not compare that when we're talking about what does success mean for me versus what does success mean for you. So with that being said, this tip of leave order of operations, that you have to go in a specific way or a specific time frame, leave that to the world of mathematics, because my dear Aunt Sally does not apply to your life and you achieving your goals. Tip number 2, I don't know about you all, but I was glued to the Paris Olympics back in the fall. And of course, one of the main attractions is the track and field events. So I Googled what the rules of track and field are, and 2 things really stood out to me. One of the rules for starting in track and field, it says you have to wait for the starter's gun to go off before running. A false start when a sprinter starts before the gun results in automatic disqualification. So you probably can already think about where I'm going with this. The second rule applied to the lanes. And so it said runners must stay in their assigned lanes, which are 4 feet wide. In sprints and hurdles, runners must stay in their lanes the entire race. In middle distance running, runners only need to stay in their lanes during their first run. And I really thought that these 2 rules of track and field, when I really started thinking about my own journey and my own experience, I went back to a time in my life where when I was about 26 years old, I found out that I had fibroids. And I don't know if you've ever experienced as a woman having fibroids, but it's definitely a different experience for everyone. My fibroids had gotten so big, or I wouldn't say so big, but had gotten at least to the size of large grapefruits. And I made the decision to have my fibroids removed. So at about 26, at that time, I had gone to probably every baby shower, every wedding. I was a bridesmaid, in every one of my friends' weddings. And that is what was happening for me at the time. So I was having fibroids while all of my friends were getting married. Now, I did not have this feeling of, oh, why am I not being married? Or why am I not married and having kids at this particular point in my life? I almost felt the opposite. Because I did not have an urge or a feeling of wanting to be married or have kids. I almost had the feeling of, oh my gosh, is this bad that I have a feeling that I don't want to get married or have kids right now? So I was a little torn of, why don't I have that same feeling that my friends are having right now to be married and have kids? Because I just didn't have it. I just didn't feel that I had experienced all of what I wanted to experience and do in life before I really made this huge commitment of committing to another human being and another little human being, where I knew I really had to give my undivided attention and I really could not be selfish in those particular moments. And so I had that feeling of, oh my gosh, why don't I feel the same way that they feel? And I thought something was wrong with me. I was like, oh my gosh, this can't be good. Something must be off or something must be wrong with me. But it wasn't until I had that experience with fibroids that really helped me to see and know, Charmaine, you are exactly where you need to be. There is nothing wrong with how you feel of not wanting to be married or have kids at this particular moment in your life. And the reason I felt that way is because I had never had any type of major surgery where I had to go under anesthesia and had to have like this full recovery process. But during that full recovery process where my abdomen was cut and I had to really depend on someone else for my care, to lift me out of bed, to cook my meals, and to basically do all the things that I was really independently or used to being independent in, I had to depend on someone else. And it really got me to thinking, the boyfriend that you're dating right now, would you marry him? Would you want to go through this experience of having a child for the boyfriend that you have now? Do you really want to? And so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. It really started to put perspective that I really need to make sure that I am running the race that I'm running. I need to make sure that I'm not jumping the gun before I really need to jump the gun, because I, at that time, did not have the mental capacity to handle such things. And when you force yourself to do something that you're not ready to do, that's when a lot of regret can set in, a lot of where you're having to course correct and make up time, or really go through certain feelings or these emotions of depression or I shoulda, woulda, coulda. And if you have the opportunity to really think about what does your journey look like? What am I supposed to do so that I am not jumping the gun and comparing myself to what's going on to my left and right when I really just need to run my race in my lane. And when I cross the finish line, I'm the winner of my race. Truly have to run your own life race. And if we find ourselves running someone else's race, then that's when we're really disqualifying ourselves from our own happiness, from our own journey, from our own process, because whatever they're supposed to have, that's what they're supposed to have. But when you set out for yourself, your journey, your process, whatever is supposed to come to you, you will always know and figure out or have that realization, this is why I needed to be older when I went through this, or this is why I had to be younger why I went through a certain experience. And so that really brings me to tip number 3, really not allowing age to be a deciding factor on whether you achieve your goals or not. Allow it to be a benefactor. And so if you're feeling like I'm too old, and I shared a story in another video where I felt when I went back to school that I was too old, when I went back to school to get my doctorate degree at 37, and I had to think and say to myself, you can be 37 with the degree or 37 without the degree. If you're thinking about going to realtor school to get your real estate license, you can be your age with the real estate license or without the real estate license. One thing about age is wisdom. And really just the baseline of what I can say here is you're never too old to achieve something. You're never too old to go for what you want to have or what you want to do in life. You make the decision to go back to school, to get your real estate license. If you make the decisions that you want to travel more, all that is age is going to help you to really set out a strategy to protect what you are going after. It's really going to help you to set out a strategy to really stay focused at achieving your goal, because you know, just like anyone else, time is going to continue to move on. So if you're able to get out there and go for your goals, why not? Don't allow any day to be wasted. Allow anything that you've experienced or anything that you've learned from your past, allow that to fuel you so that you're able to achieve and live the life that you want to live. I really, for myself, for this 2025, I'm really trying to get in spaces that help me to give myself perspective on what is the next thing that I want to do, what is the next stage of my life going to be, because I really want to make sure that at every stage that I'm really moving forward to attaining peace for myself, because that's what prosperity means to me, to have peace. And once you start defining those things for yourself, then that's when you can say, what is prosperity for you? What are those lines of peace for your life? What does that mean for perspective for your life? And so I really hope that these 3 tips are reminders that, 1, do not allow someone to say that you're a late bloomer, because when you achieve what you set out for, when you achieve that and when you attain that, that is truly when you're supposed to have it. And when you get it, you know that you're going to be able to protect it and keep going up to the next level and bettering yourself. So I really hope that these 3 tips are something that you can use for groundwork in your own self journey. And I really appreciate you watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.